Yeah, 10,000 subscribers. That's certainly a milestone. A lot of people do 10,000 subscriber specials or things like that. Unfortunately, I don't have anything like that planned. Because I didn't really predict this happening so soon, and general life stuff has been a little bit busy lately. I didn't want to announce it directly in one of my main series videos, because I feel that dates the video a lot and gets a bit awkward for people who watch the video after its original upload date, but all I want to say is, thank you. One of the things I love most about this channel, as I said at the end of last year, is the community that we have in the comments section. Everyone is just so friendly and I always enjoy responding to comments whenever I can. So let's just continue to keep this community fun and positive in the future. And speaking of the future, I think you all deserve a bit of a treat for this milestone, and so I wasn't going to reveal this because I wanted to surprise people, but I guess I can say this now. As of this point, I actually am leading towards doing a blind run of 3 houses when it comes out. At first I decided against this for a few reasons, mainly that I wanted to leave things open for a full walkthrough series of the game in the future, and certain elements of the Fates blind run making me feel like Fire Emblem was not the best material for a blind playthrough. But then I realized something. There aren't that many Fire Emblem YouTubers out there, and because of this, there won't be many places to see a blind playthrough of this game from someone who's experienced with the whole series. I think it's interesting seeing the opinions a longtime fan of a series has on a new game in that series, so I thought I might as well do it. Though, just be warned, I might be recording several parts of this in advance when the game does come out, just to see if I'm enjoying it or not. If I'm not, then I might end up cancelling, but that's a pretty slim chance. The thing that a lot of other YouTubers have said about blind playthroughs is that it can often be hard to tell if you're going to enjoy recording and playing the game from the outset, and my personal philosophy is if the recorder is not enjoying the game, then the viewers are not going to enjoy it. But I find a decent compromise is to record about 5 or so parts and just see if you're enjoying it, and if you are, then start posting. That's actually what I did with Smash Brothers. So look forward to that, though that won't be for a while. That game doesn't come out until the end of July. And that's assuming it doesn't get delayed, which very well could happen. So what's next until then? Well, it's a bit premature to be saying this since Persona Q isn't finished yet. At the moment, I'm estimating Q to be about 70 to 80 parts, maybe. The only real update I have on that front is I may have hit a bit of a snag when it comes to planning on recording the final Ultimate Super Boss. I've alluded to it in a few videos, so I will have to do it at some points. And I'd originally read that you unlock this fight by completing the game on both the P3 and P4 routes. So, I've been playing the Persona 4 file, partly to show that route's exclusive scenes, and also partly to unlock this fight on the P3 file. But I've since looked at a few forums, and apparently you need to beat both routes with the same file via New Game Plus, which would mean I'd need to play through the entire game a 3rd time. The good news is, this is one of those games where level carries over with the New Game Plus, as does the compendium and pretty much all your equipment. So if I did have to do this, it would hopefully go pretty quickly, but it is still having to beat the game a 4th time if you count my practice playthrough before I started recording. So my question is, does anyone here in the comments know if this is indeed true? Do you have to beat both the P3 and P4 route with the same file? Or do you just have to have beaten both routes on the same cartridge at least once, which is what I initially thought. On the subject of super bosses, a lot of people are probably wondering where the Elizabeth fight in Persona 3 is. If I do end up having to do a New Game Plus for Persona Q to unlock this fight, I might work on the Elizabeth fight at the same time. I basically need to refuse Orpheus Telos with a specific skill set, and that might take a while, even with New Game Plus in that game carrying over your full compendium. I mostly chalk this up to me just generally not enjoying New Game Plus very much in any game. I just find it very, very hard to get invested in a New Game Plus playthrough at all. I just find them mind-numbingly boring. I think it's because the thrill of leveling up and getting stronger is one of the main draws to me in an RPG, so when you start already at the max level, that appeal is entirely gone. I will also work on the Radiant Dawn final chapter boss conversations. Basically, I need to plan out the most efficient route to ensure the minimum number of runs through all of Endgame. I've actually already started on that. The footage that I used for the dummy clip in the Radiant Dawn unused content video actually also contains some of Endgame 1's boss conversations. As for Smash Ultimate, we're getting close to the end of World of Light, and I'm very quickly running out of backlog videos. As of now, I have 2 more parts of the Sacred Realm dungeon, then the Darkon fight and the first part of the final map, then I believe 3 parts of just the final map, and then it'll be time for the final battle, which as of now, that's the only thing I have left to record. That's not all I plan on recording with Smash Brothers though. After that, I plan to do all the Fire Emblem characters' classic modes, so please don't spoil any of them for me. And then there'll be a final surprise at the very end of all that. I also have Joker's Spirit Board to record, though as I've said in other videos, I am not going to be doing the entire Spirit Board, because it's just random which spirits show up, and there's so many spirits in the game. So recording my reaction to every single one of them would take way too long. I'll also be doing the classic modes for future DLC characters, as well as any of their Spirit Boards. And after that, because this is a special occasion, I'll give a bit more of an in-depth preview of what will be coming next. The next major series I plan on doing after Persona Q is finished is the Legend of Heroes Trails series. It is getting into a new series, and one that is going to be very, very long, and I have officially decided to start with Trails in the Sky. I do have more personal connection to Cold Steel, and I do like that game more. But the more I thought about it, the more starting the series with Trails in the Sky 1 made sense. It'd start at the beginning, and it'd give attention to one of the more obscure games in that series. I recently started replaying the first Sky game and making notes as to what I want to cover when I record it, and I've been really enjoying it. I am in fact playing on Nightmare mode just to try out the difficulty for myself. I don't know if the actual run will be on Nightmare or not. Though even if I do play the first game on Nightmare, don't get your hopes up for me to play the second game on Nightmare. Second chapter's hard mode is vicious enough as is. It is practically FE Fate's Conquest levels of difficulty, so I don't think I'm even going to touch Nightmare. Basically, I want to get this series going on my channel because I haven't seen very many in-depth commentated playthroughs of the Trails series on YouTube, so hopefully I can try and fill that niche. So I will probably be doing Sky's second chapter immediately after first chapter because you kind of have to. They're less one game in its sequel and more one game in 2 parts. That is going to be a lot, so I'll break that up by uploading other things at the same time. After that, I'll probably need a break. I'm obviously not going to launch straight into the third. The third is less connected to the first 2 Sky games anyway. I feel like the next games in that series I do would be Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then Sky the third possibly between Cold Steel 2 and 3. And I'm sure the few of you in the comments section who are familiar with this series are probably going to get on my case about something. I have noticed whenever I do videos talking about the Trails series, the few people in that fandom are pretty insistent about demanding everyone play the Crossbell games. Now don't take this the wrong way or anything, I totally understand how that feels, because I'm in the Fire Emblem fandom and I keep insisting that everyone play Genealogy of the Holy War even though that game was never officially localized. The problem is, the fan translations for the Crossbell games are not quite complete as far as I know, but also, I don't really know how PSP emulation and fan patches even work, so I'm not really sure how I'd go about playing those games. Even if I did get the fan translations working, I'd probably play those games on my own time before I actually recorded them for a series, so I still think the order that I plan to play the games in still stands. Sky FC, Sky SC, Cold Steel 1, Cold Steel 2, Sky the 3rd, and then the rest of the Cold Steel games. Yes, I do know that some aspects of the Cold Steel games make less sense if you haven't played the Crossbell ones. The Crossbell games take place at the same time as Cold Steel 1 and 2. But I also think playing Cold Steel first is a valid option, because there are huge plot twists in Cold Steel 2 that become foregone conclusions if you've played the Crossbell games. And personally, I'd prefer to keep those plot twists in Cold Steel a surprise. It kind of reminds me of how some people talk about the Star Wars original and prequel trilogy. No matter what order you watch those films in, you will spoil at least something from one of the trilogies. And speaking of which, the other reason I decided to do Sky first is if I'd done Cold Steel first, I would have spoiled something very big about one of the characters in Sky in advance. So, hopefully, that remains a secret for a lot of people until the reveal happens. While we're on the subject of Trails series spoilers, if you are planning on playing these games, or if you want to watch my playthrough unspoiled, do not look up anything about these games online. The Trails series loves having seemingly minor, irrelevant characters turn out to be hiding gigantic secrets, or turn out to be major villains several games down the line. Seriously, don't look up anything. You're bound to get spoiled on huge things if you do. As for other things I plan on doing this year, I was originally planning on recording Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel once it came out, as sort of a quick semi-blind side project, kind of in the same vein as Smash Ultimate. The problem with that though is, if Nitro Fueled Adventure Mode is anything like the original games, it might not make the best video material, because it would involve a lot of redoing the same racetracks over and over again, and I would run out of things to talk about very quickly. Two other projects that I'm considering doing are Zelda Oracle of Ages, which will probably be a Cursed Ring minimum % run, and Pokemon Heart Gold No Experience. That one I'm leaning to a little bit more. I'm not sure if those will happen this year or not. They might end up being next year depending on how things go. We'll see. And speaking of Pokemon, I am also considering doing a blind run of Sword and... well, probably just one of Sword or Shield. At the moment I'm leaning towards Shield because, hey, I like Armor Knights. Possibly thinking of doing a blind run of that when it comes out, because I haven't done a Pokemon game blind since X and Y, and that was kind of fun. However, those games won't be releasing until the very end of the year, so that won't be for a while if it does happen. And so I hope you've enjoyed this general look at my plans for this year and possibly the future. There are a lot of YouTubers out there who either like to keep their viewers guessing about what series they'll do next, or have the philosophy of never promise your viewers anything because it will always end badly, but I disagree. I like to keep transparent with you guys. So yeah, that's what to look forward to in the future, that's what I'll be planning in the future, and I'll see you all next time.